Hey everyone, Mike here, and as always, I've got Karen with me.
Hey there.
We're diving into some hotel marketing wisdom today.
Sounds good.
Specifically, we're looking at this blog series called 50 Mistakes, Why Most Hotels Fail and How You Can Succeed.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that one.
Really great stuff,
Yeah,
especially for those of us, running hotels here in India.
for sure.
This time around, we're going to be breaking down mistake number 7, why overpromising and underdelivering hurts your hotel's brand.
Right.
It's that whole idea of under-promise, over-deliver, right?
Yeah.
We're going to
Yeah.
really get into why that matters so much.
Yeah.
Especially, in the Indian hospitality market. It's tough out there.
Oh, it is.
Karen, I know you've worked with so many hotels over the years.
I have.
What would you say is like the biggest mistake you see hotels making when it comes to setting expectations for guests?
It's funny. It's almost like they fall into this trap of wanting to be everything to everyone.
Yeah.
They feel like they have to compete on every single level, whether it's amenities or services or even price. And then they end up, making all these promises they just can't keep.
That's so true, and the article really dives into the consequences of overpromising. And it's not just about getting a few bad reviews online.
Right.
Which those can be tough, especially for a new hotel trying to build up a good reputation.
That goes deeper.
It does. It goes much deeper.
Think about it. If a guest shows up expecting, you know, a world-class spa experience, and then what do they find? A
Yeah.
tiny little room with like a flickering fluorescent light?
Oh, no.
How do you think that makes them feel?
Not great.
Not great at all. Deceived, let down, maybe even a little foolish for believing the hype.
The article actually gave a perfect example of this luxury villa in Goa that was all over social media with these pictures of private pools and gourmet dining.
Fancy.
But then when guests arrived,
Well, I bet it wasn't quite what they expected.
not even close.
Yeah.
The pool was a mess, needed a serious cleaning. And the gourmet dining turned out to be a super limited menu of like prepackaged meals.
Oh, wow. Talk about a letdown.
Total expectation gap.
And that's the problem with overpromising. You create this gap between what guests think they're going to get and what they actually experience.
Right.
And the bigger that gap, the more likely you are to have upset guests, leaving bad reviews, telling their friends to stay away.
Yeah,
And ultimately, that hurts your brand.
it really does.
Yeah.
Now, the author of this article, Arun Kumar Raman, he makes a really interesting point about the psychology behind all of this.
Okay.
He says when a guest feels misled, it actually creates this feeling of cognitive dissonance.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of that.
You know that uncomfortable feeling when our beliefs clash with reality?
Right? Like when you think something's going to be one way and it's totally different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And guests want to believe they made a good choice by booking your hotel, but then they have this bad experience staring them right in the face.
It's tough to reconcile those two things.
It is. So
Yeah.
what do?
Well, usually they end up doubling down on those negative feelings. They convince themselves that they were tricked. And that anger, that's what fuels those nasty online reviews and those never again conversations with their friends.
It all makes sense now. So how can hotels avoid this whole overpromising trap in the first place?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
The article does have some really practical advice for course correcting.
Oh, good. I'm all ears.
It all starts with taking a close look at your marketing materials.
Makes sense.
I'm talking about your website, your social media brochures, anything a potential guest might see before they even think about booking.
Okay.
And you have to be totally honest with yourself here.
Yeah.
Are you accurately representing what you offer, or are you maybe embellishing a little
Or a lot.
or a lot?
It's easy to get carried away.
It is. The article calls this a marketing audit.
Okay.
I think this is something every hotel should be doing on a regular basis.
I agree.
I'm thinking as a first step, maybe you could identify like the top 3 things that your target audience cares about the most. Maybe it's location or amenities or a certain vibe you've got going on.
Right.
And then go through every single piece of your marketing and ask yourself, what claims am I making about these 3 things?
That's a great framework.
And once you've identified those claims, you need to fact check them like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
If you're saying you have the most stunning views in the city, go outside, take a look, and ask yourself, would a guest actually agree with that?
Yeah, or would they feel misled?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And don't just rely on your own perspective either.
Right?
Get feedback from your staff, from past guests. Heck, even ask some friends who hadn't stayed at your hotel to give you their honest opinions.
Yeah, a fresh perspective can be really helpful.
Absolutely. Sometimes an outsider can see things that you just can't.
True.
Now remember, this audit isn't about beating yourself up.
Yeah.
It's about making sure that you're setting realistic expectations for your guests. You want them to be pleasantly surprised by what they find, not disappointed by what they don't.
I like that.
So honesty in your marketing, that's step one. But the article goes even further than that.
Oh.
It suggests that hotels need to be upfront about any limitations they might have.
That's a good point.
Like, for example, if your pool isn't open all year round,
Right.
that needs to be crystal clear on your website.
Yeah, no surprises.
Exactly. Clarity and transparency are key.
Absolutely.
Would you rather a guest be pleasantly surprised to find the pool open in December?
Yeah.
Or furious that they booked expecting a swim and they can't?
Yeah. Definitely better to be upfront.
You're managing expectations so they match reality.
I like that.
And beyond just avoiding misleading information,
Right.
you also need to highlight your genuine strength.
Yeah, what are you really good at?
Exactly.
Yeah.
If your guests rave about your friendly staff or your incredible breakfast, shout it from the rooftops.
For sure.
But authenticity is key here.
It is.
Don't try to force it or
Yeah.
invent strengths that don't actually exist.
Yeah, guests can see right through that.
They can focus on what you truly excel at and let that be your selling point. You know, this makes me think about that advice we hear all the time. Find your niche and own it.
Oh, yeah.
If you're a small boutique hotel in a busy city, don't try to compete with the mega resorts on amenities. You just can't match.
Right. Play to your strength.
Instead, lean into your unique strengths. Maybe it's personalized service or a truly local experience,
Yeah.
or even just the most comfortable beds in town.
You know what's really interesting about this?
What's that?
By being honest about your limitations and focusing on your genuine strengths, you're actually building trust with your guests before they even step foot in your hotel.
Oh, that's a good point.
It's like you're telling them, this is who we are, this is what we do well, and we're not going to try to be something we're not.
That's a powerful message.
It is,
And I think it lays the groundwork for a really positive guest experience.
for sure.
And I think that's a perfect place to pause for a quick word from our sponsors. We'll be back in a flash.
Welcome back, everyone.
We were just talking about honesty and transparency in marketing, especially for hotels here in India. It's really about setting the stage for a great guest experience from the get-go.
Yeah, for sure.
It's funny, we often talk about marketing as this big strategic thing.
We do.
But sometimes I think the most impactful moments are actually in the small details.
Absolutely. You can have a beautiful website, a fantastic social media presence.
Right.
But if your staff isn't trained to actually deliver on those promises,
It all falls apart.
it does. That's where the what part comes in.
Right. The article really emphasizes that it's not enough to just say you offer exceptional service.
Yeah.
You actually have to provide it.
You do.
And that takes real effort. Training your staff, empowering them to go the extra mile,
Right.
and creating a culture of excellence from the ground up.
Think about it. What are those little delight moments that we all love as travelers?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it's the receptionist who remembers your name, or the housekeeper who notices you like extra pillows
Right.
and makes a note of it for your next stay.
So thoughtful.
It is. Those small gestures, they can make a huge impact.
They really can.
Yeah.
And I think those delight moments, they often come from staff who are not only well-trained,
Yeah.
but they're also genuinely invested in making guests happy.
Right.
So it's not just about teaching them the procedures.
No.
It's about empowering them to use their judgment, to be proactive, and to go above and beyond when they see an opportunity.
Exactly.
Now, one of the best ways to encourage that kind of culture, I think, is to actively seek out guest feedback.
Oh, for sure.
And I'm not just talking about those generic comment cards, the ones everyone ignores.
Right.
I mean, really digging deep to understand what guests loved, what they didn't, and what could be improved.
Get specific.
The article had this great example of a hotel that completely revamped their breakfast service based on guest feedback.
Wow.
They went from a very basic continental breakfast to a made-to-order omelet station and a spread of fresh local fruits.
Sounds delicious.
And guess what?
What?
Guest satisfaction went through the roof.
Of course it did.
It's not just about making changes, though. It's about showing guests that you're listening, that their feedback matters,
right.
and that you're committed to continuously improving.
And that builds trust and loyalty.
Like nothing else. This makes me think about how important it is to train staff to handle complaints effectively.
Oh, that's huge.
Especially in the Indian hospitality industry where word of mouth is so powerful.
It is.
One bad experience can really damage a hotel's reputation.
It can. You're right.
But a guest who feels heard and respected,
Yeah.
even when something goes wrong,
Right.
they're much more likely to give a hotel a second chance.
I think so.
So training your staff to listen empathetically resolve issues quickly,
Right.
and maybe even offer a small gesture of apology
Yeah,
that can turn a negative experience into a positive one.
it really can.
You know, it all comes back to that expectation gap we talked about earlier.
Right.
By being proactive about addressing potential issues,
Yeah.
training your staff to be responsive, gathering feedback constantly.
You're narrowing that gap
We-
and making sure guests are consistently delighted.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
And that's when the magic happens.
It is.
Guests start coming back. They recommend your hotel to their friends and family.
Word of mouth.
They become your biggest advocates.
Best kind of marketing.
It really is.
Yeah.
That's the power of delivering on your promises and creating a genuinely positive guest experience.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Speaking of exceeding expectations,
Yeah, okay.
the article had this really interesting section about creating those unexpected extras,
I like those.
the things that really make a stay memorable.
Yeah, like what?
Do you have any favorite examples of hotels that do this well?
Oh gosh, so many. There's this charming little heritage hotel in Jaipur that I stayed at a few years ago.
Nice.
They had this tradition of offering guests a complimentary foot massage after a long day of sightseeing.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't something they advertised heavily or anything,
Right.
but it was such a thoughtful and unexpected touch. I
Yeah.
still remember it.
I love that. It's those kinds of small gestures that can really elevate a stay from good to unforgettable.
They do.
It shows that the hotel is going above and beyond to create a truly special experience.
And the best part is these little extras don't have to be expensive or elaborate.
No?
Sometimes it's the simplest things that make the biggest impact.
Absolutely.
A handwritten welcome note, a complimentary bottle of local juice in the room, or even just a personalized recommendation for a restaurant nearby.
Oh, yeah.
Those are the things that make guests feel valued.
They do.
Hmm.
It's about creating those delight moments that surprise and delight.
Exactly.
And that's something every hotel, regardless of size or budget, can do.
I think so too.
It really is.
Mm.
You know, as we're talking about exceeding expectations,
Yeah.
it makes me think about this concept that Arun Kumar Raman brings up in the article.
Okay.
He calls it the expectation gap.
Okay.
It's basically the difference between what a guest anticipates and what they actually experience.
I see.
The
Wow.
wider that gap, the more disappointed they're likely to be.
Makes sense.
Think about it visually. Imagine a guest arrives expecting this serene spa experience,
Okay.
but instead they find a construction site with jackhammers
Yeah.
pounding right outside their window.
Um,
Huge expectation gap.
that's a big one.
It is, but it doesn't always have to be that dramatic.
Right.
Even something as simple as advertising high-speed Wi-Fi,
Oh, yeah.
that's actually spotty and unreliable.
We've all been there.
We have. It could create this sense of frustration and disappointment.
It does.
And while those things might seem minor on their own,
Yeah.
they can really add up
They do.
to create a negative overall impression.
So how can hotels minimize that gap? Besides, the obvious things we've already talked about, being honest and marketing, training staff well.
Good question.
Okay.
Well, sometimes I think it's about embracing your limitations
Okay.
and turning them into strengths.
Interesting.
Remember that hotel in New York City we talked about?
Yeah.
The one right next to the subway station?
Yeah.
Instead of trying to hide the noise, they leaned into it.
They did.
They incorporated the subway theme into their decor and even offered guests complimentary earplugs and a sleep sound machine.
That's so clever.
They took a potential negative
Yeah.
and transformed it into this quirky and memorable part of their brand.
And that's a powerful lesson, I think.
It is, especially for hotels here in India.
For sure.
Instead of trying to be something you're not, embrace what makes you unique, even if it's not conventionally perfect.
I love that.
You know, this is great advice for our listeners.
I think so.
It leads perfectly into the final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
where we'll explore the importance of finding your niche and building a brand based on authenticity and genuine hospitality.
Sounds good.
But first, another quick message from our sponsors. Stick with us. And we are back for the final part of our deep dive today.
Back again.
We've been talking about honesty in marketing, exceeding those guest expectations, and really embracing those unique quirks that make your hotel stand out.
Yeah, those little things that make you special.
And, you know, it all leads to a pretty crucial question for hotel owners, especially here in India.
What's that?
Who are you really trying to attract?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because you can't be everything to everyone, right?
No, you can't. You can try.
You can try, but
But you end up with a very diluted brand and an experience that's not really satisfying for anyone.
yeah, it's like trying to be a 5-star luxury hotel and a budget-friendly backpackers hostel at the same time.
Right. You're not going to fully please either group.
Yeah. You might attract some guests from both categories,
Yeah.
but you're not going to truly delight either of them.
You're not.
And the article really hits on this idea of finding your niche and owning it.
Yes, absolutely.
Are you the go-to destination for romantic getaways?
Or maybe corporate retreats.
Or a haven for adventure-seeking travelers?
You gotta figure out what makes you special.
Exactly, and who would be most drawn to that?
Right. Who's your ideal guest?
Arun Kumar Raman gives a great example of a mountain resort that's completely tailored to adventure travelers.
Oh.
They offer guided hikes, rock climbing excursions, even whitewater rafting trips.
Wow. Sounds adventurous.
They're not trying to be a generic family resort.
Oh.
And that clarity allows them to create a really authentic and memorable experience for their target audience.
And that's what it's all about.
It is.
Yeah.
When you know exactly who you're trying to attract,
Yeah.
you can tailor everything you're marketing, your amenities, your service style, to appeal to that specific audience.
You got it.
It's about creating an experience that really resonates with their needs and their desires.
Makes sense.
So let's say you're a boutique hotel known for your amazing spa and wellness offerings.
Okay, I like it already.
Don't be afraid to go all in on that.
No, embrace it.
Showcase those luxurious treatments on your website. Highlight your serene atmosphere.
Yeah.
Maybe even partner with some local yoga studios or health food restaurants to create a truly holistic experience.
That's a great idea.
And don't just tell them, show them.
Exactly.
Use high-quality images and videos that capture the essence of your niche.
Yeah.
Instead of those generic stock photos,
Nobody wants to see those.
feature real guests enjoying your unique offerings.
Right. Show the real deal.
Those authentic visuals are so much more likely to resonate with potential customers.
They really are.
And this also makes me think about how important it is to align your marketing language with your niche.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
If you're targeting adventure travelers,
Okay.
use language that's exciting, energetic, maybe even a little edgy.
Yeah, get their adrenaline pumping.
But if you're a luxury hotel focused on providing a tranquil, pampered experience,
Right.
your language should reflect that.
Absolutely.
Think serene, sophisticated, maybe even a touch of indulgence.
It's all about setting the tone.
It is.
Yeah.
The words you choose can make a huge difference in attracting the right guests.
They can.
So the takeaway here for our listeners,
Yeah.
be brave. Embrace your niche.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to be specific about who you are and what you offer.
Really be proud of it.
Trying to please everyone will only end up pleasing no one.
It's true.
It's about finding your tribe, those guests, who will truly appreciate what makes your hotel special.
Your people.
And when you create an experience that resonates deeply with them,
Yeah.
they become your most loyal advocates,
They do.
spreading the word, coming back again and again.
That's the dream.
It's the best kind of marketing.
It really is.
It all comes down to authenticity, doesn't it?
I think so.
Guests can spot a fake a mile away.
They can.
They want to connect with brands and businesses that are genuine, transparent, and true to themselves.
Absolutely.
And that authenticity shines through when you're passionate about what you do and who you serve.
It does.
When you're focused on creating an experience that's truly aligned with your values and your vision,
Yeah.
it shows in every detail.
Every single one.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Mistake No-7,
Okay.
the key takeaway is this.
I'm listening.
Be yourself, be honest, find your tribe, and deliver on your promises.
Couldn't agree more.
Those are the ingredients for building a thriving hotel business in India's incredible hospitality landscape.
They are.
Focus on creating genuine connections, exceeding expectations, and leaving a lasting positive impression on every guest who walks through your doors.
That's what it's all about.
And remember, the best marketing is a happy guest.
So true.
Until next time on The Deep Dive, keep those expectations in check and those experiences exceptional.